Welcome to the Employer Blueprint Podcast, where leaders can develop their skills for building more efficient businesses and high-performing teams. I'm your host, Kyle Gorman. We've talked before about the impact of having what I would call A players, but seeing C-level results. And before, it kind of broke this down and talking about the need for proper leadership and open communication and team accountability. I'm going to simplify this just a little bit more. Let me keep it really, really simple here. When you have A players, when you have an A team, but you're seeing C results, break it down to culture. That's the one simple word that we can put in place to help understand and identify why we are having that challenge is because of the culture. There is not a success culture in your environment. There is not a culture of team accountability. There is not a culture of us all being on the same page to reach a common goal. In an earlier episode, we broke that down even further and talked about open communication and team accountability. But I wanted to make sure we understood that ultimately what we're talking about here is culture. Now, here's why it's important for you to understand how important the culture is because you as the leader in the organization ultimately determine the culture, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And I think it's most important to understand when it's being done unintentionally, meaning you may be a good leader, but you may have too much on your plate. You may have too many tasks. You may have too many people that are reporting to you. You may have just too much going on. You may be distracted by other things within the business. And so what happens is the culture starts to morph into something completely different than what you had intentionally set out to design. And or you have personalities within the business that are establishing and creating the culture that are really not the culture that you wanted to establish or create. So what do we do about this? First of all, when possible, you always want to hire for culture. I shouldn't even say when possible. I would say always hire for culture. Bring in people that fit well into your organization. Anybody can match a resume to a job description. The art of hiring comes in with the ability to match a personality to a company culture. Skills can be learned. Personalities will not change. So hiring for culture, hiring for personality fit, so much more critical than hiring just simply for skill set. So if you hire, that's the first thing that we want to do. Hire for personality to fit into the company culture, either the culture we have or the culture we're trying to create. But the other thing is, just like you have goals around everything else in your business, you should have goals around the culture that you want to create, that you want to establish, or that you want to maintain. So if you want a culture of open communication, well, then you have to be intentional about the things you're doing to create and establish that. If you want a culture that does not have drama, raise your hand if that's you. I think that's everyone out there, right? Every business leader out there would tell me, well, we don't want drama. We don't want drama. Now, we'll hire people that are filled with drama, but we're going to say that we don't want drama. Well, if you don't want drama, then be intentional about it. And what that means is drama will naturally seep into an organization. But how are you dealing with it? Are you ignoring it? Or are you attacking it head on? Are you addressing it, dealing with it, and making sure that it's clear to everybody that that's not how we operate in our business? But that has to do with you being intentional. And so you have to understand the culture that you want to create or the culture that you're trying to maintain, and then you have to be intentional about those things. Otherwise, you're going to turn around in 6 months or 12 months, and you're going to recognize that certain aspects of a toxic culture have seeped into your organization that you never wanted there. So write down 2 or 3 things that you know you want in the culture of your organization, or write down 2 or 3 things you know that are not happening in the culture of your organization right now, and start putting some steps in place to fix those. Think about the goals that you need. Think about the examples, the illustrations, things that have come up over the last few weeks or months that have fostered an unhealthy culture, or the things that have actually helped lead to the healthy culture that you do have that you want to maintain. And then you can determine how you replicate those issues, how you replicate those scenarios and those illustrations. But if you have great people on your team and you're not seeing the results out of that group that you're expecting, high level, we're looking at a culture issue, because those great people could go somewhere else with a different culture and likely thrive. So the question really is, do you want them to thrive with you, or do you want them to go somewhere else and thrive, and then you no longer have a team of A players? Thanks for joining me this week on the Employer Blueprint Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show to receive the latest episodes, and if you would like to connect with me directly with questions or topics you'd like to hear more about, you can find me on LinkedIn as Real Kyle Gorman. And until next time, make it a great day.